In 2010, Young Justice premiered to an audience of over 2.5 million people and displayed two of the greatest seasons of superhero media we've ever seen. I was someone who saw this 1 hour special live on Cartoon Network, and I was hooked. Seeing a group of teenage sidekicks come together to accept each other through their different pasts and experiences, come and fight beside each other despite the risk involved of being separate from their experienced mentors and heroes. And watching the kids grow up together and accept themselves for who they are was so magical. Now, I'm sitting here before you 12 years later from the premiere of this amazing show to tell you why Young Justice is DC's animated masterpiece. When you watch Young Justice, the first thing that will jump out to you is the characters. Not even getting into how well they are written, the variety of characters they portray is just crazy. Starting with Megan, before Young Justice, her character had only been used in maybe 2 years worth of comic books, and then she was ditched at the end of the Teen Titans run in 2008. Her character was an afterthought, completely created for the most part by this show and in this show. And another character who received that same treatment was Calderon. Matter of fact, his character was original to the show and wasn't brought into comics until afterwards through DC Rebirth. Aquaman's sidekick was Garth in the comic books, if at all, and he wasn't even developed in the 1980s New Teen Titans run, so it's not even like they had a Aqualad or a Aquaman Jr. to go off of in order to tell stories, especially with the other twists and turns that they took with Calder's character later on, and just making him a more fleshed out character than anyone could have ever imagined. Artemis is another original character to the show as the sidekick of Green Arrow after someone like Roy leaves the team, and of course Ollie as an apprentice. It's crazy to think that this show that had names like Greg Weisman and other people on their cast that were amazing at putting these adaptations of existing comic book characters on screen, through overseeing the first season of Max Steel and both the seasons of Spectacular Spider-Man, to creating half of a cast that is just about almost completely original to this show. Of course, characters like Wally, Dick Grayson, and Connor Kent have a very long and extensive history in comic books, but the relationship between those three, and especially Dick Grayson and Wally, has only taken off as a result of this show. Even in comics, they were friends before, but as a result of Young Justice, a lot of comic books started to write that in the relationship between Dick Grayson and Wally West, and we see that flourish in DC's Titans later on. Starting off the bat though, we can already acknowledge that this show is doing tremendous efforts to take an already existing plane of the DC universe in the teenage superhero genre and expound upon it even further by creating their new own personal experiences and individual characters and adding them to a mythos that is already great within itself. Beyond the original characters to the show and already adapting character to stories exist in comics, I want to say this: the pinnacle of teenage superhero storytelling belongs to the first season of Young Justice. As much as I love Teen Titans, and you all will find that out either in the future or if you saw my Teen Titans video a few months back, Young Justice did it better. And also, while integrating a more expansive cast throughout the show and introducing a new dynamic between the mentees and their mentors in the mature superheroes from the Justice League that is missing from something like a Teen Titans with those relationships. But I get it, I get it, I really do. Talk is cheap, so let me show you better than I can tell you. The best thing Young Justice did was show the growth in the mentor and mentee relationships, like I mentioned, throughout the missions of the show. The first mission of the show showed our heroes taking it upon themselves to complete the Cadmus raid in Robin, Wally West, and Calder after being rejected from basically being able to join the Justice League and even getting a full tour of the Watchtower. After Roy's departure, a young Dick Grayson takes it upon himself to put his team out into the field and prove to their superior heroes that they can be respected and can be trusted to handle things on their own. They completed the Cadmus mission and rescued Superboy as a result, uncovering different secrets that had not even truly been investigated by the Batman himself, along with the rest of the Justice League. But as a result, the team was ridiculed, chastised by the Batman, and then congratulated. This type of response repeated throughout Season 1. Despite proving themselves on a multitude of occasions, the team in many regards was still seen as a Justice League, under the thumbs of the heroes who had mentored them over the years and who were just too out of control to complete higher stake missions. This of course changes throughout the series though, from Kid Flash's moments of maturity through the episode Cold Hearted, where he completes a dangerous and dire mission which shows the selflessness and maturity of his character, and an otherwise lighthearted character in Wally West himself, to even other aspects like the acceptance of Miss Martian's heritage and her troubled past by the group, and more importantly, by herself, proving that within a group of people who she actually has affection and friendship with, unlike some would argue the Justice League has, where it's more of a business casual type relationship between the members, she is able to accept herself and everyone else is able to do the same for who she truly is. Or even going through the transparency and honesty that Artemis is forced to demonstrate when her past is revealed and her secrets are unveiled, when she is to confront her insecurities and family drama and come to accept her role in her new family with the team. With all of these characters, they show and exemplify what it truly means to be a hero on a level that is so commendable that for a whole entire episode, the League is forced to consider the actions and growth of the team, and all of this culminates in Season 2's opening episode and mission. Through the growth of the relationships that we witnessed over the first year of them being together, after 5 years, the new members of the team repeat the actions of the OGs, with Robin, Lagoon Boy, and Blue Beetle taking it upon themselves to go on an unsanctioned mission that, although sloppy and messy, is successful somewhat. And the new generation of leaders in Dick Grayson and Calder first make a concentrated effort to congratulate these decisions of maturity and independence. All this shows for us firsthand, not just telling us the maturity and the growth that the entire superhero community has for these characters. So much so that not only are they in leadership positions to where they instruct and can make their own decisions for the team as higher up and more respected heroes, but also the League has been forced to recognize and accept the fact that these heroes can and have proven themselves, despite maybe being sidekicks, despite being teenagers, despite being whatever. These guys have proven time and time again, regardless of the generation, that they can run shit just as effectively as the League. This adds so many more dynamics than the generic comic book adaptation, and even some of the best. Something only seen in the likes of a Batman Beyond, with the relationship between Terry McGinnis and Bruce Wayne being mentor and mentee now, with Bruce Wayne in his elderly age. But even still, I would argue that this does that on a grander scale, a more proactive scale, and just does a better job of doing it. The last thing I want to touch on actually is what I really think sets this show apart from any other superhero adaptation, especially in DC, but really all of them if we're being honest. And that is how these characters struggle not only individually, but as an extension of them being a sidekick, making that aspect of their character just as important as their own individual character arcs, piece by piece by piece. By becoming Aquaman's sidekick, Calder is subjected to a life without the love of his life, and away from everything that he once knew living in Atlantis, and he had to leave that all to live on the surface and fulfill his duty of being Aqualad, and still being a subservient of the King of Atlantis. Although we see less of him in Season 2 because of the infiltration mission and all the twists and turns that come with that, Calder still is a character who on many levels is conflicted. And it's one of the main things with his character that still persists today and that separate him from the rest of the cast and a lot of other characters in DC. Because despite all of this, Calder is still the most responsible member of the team and character in their main six. While developing along the way, you realize the balance that he has to have and that he realizes he has to have. Likewise with someone like Superboy, who through the entirety of the story struggles with being a clone of Superman, but also having anger issues with that coming of him being a hybrid of Superman and Lex Luthor. Always in a comparative state and wishing for Superman to accept him as the pseudo son or the mentee that he really is for so long, that weighs on Connor for as long as the series goes. And this is only further expounded upon during his relationship with Megan that starts around halfway through season 1. It's a constant theme for his character, just like it was in the comics. Last but certainly not least, the expectations of Wally, just as for everyone else, bother him to the extent of struggling even at times of deep seriousness. And while opening up, Wally wishes to be the jokester, he wishes to be the light-hearted guy, he wishes to be someone with not necessarily less expectations, but with more freedom, being a speedster and being a joke cracker at all. All of this changes in the aforementioned mission that he goes upon solo. But up until that point, during season 2, while he leads a very different life than the rest of his speedsters and his family, and in the series, still up until the very end, he deals with the fact that he just isn't as fast as Barry Allen. And for some reason, he cannot subject himself to the same superhero life that everyone around him leads, hence his retirement. Hence him trying to get away with it with the jokes. Hence him trying to put it away by not thinking about that. And hence him trying to lead a life with Artemis that is separated from all of that. And his struggle with all of this until his later death. Young Justice does an amazing job, time after time, of not only characterizing the cast that it gives us, not only developing the amazing characters and sidekick teenagers that it presents to us, but by displaying to us what it means to be a hero through the lens of people with tremendous amounts of pressure, with the odds stacked against them, having conflicting lives, complicated histories, but above all else, displaying a story full of captivating memories that can last a lifetime. I hope that you all enjoyed this video and my love letter basically to Young Justice, and why I think that if you haven't, you should check it out. And you should also check out the other videos on this channel. You should check out my podcast as well. Thank you all for being here. I hope that you all learned something, and I also hope that you all have a good day. I will talk to you guys later, and peace.